Okay, we are live. We live? Yes, we are. All right. Good evening, good night, or wherever you guys are. What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy, LatiosNYC, aka the old lovely Shadow King that you guys are known to grow and love and to appreciate, of course. But yeah, I see Flexi is first, of course. Legend Kids here. Welcome. Uh, yeah, guys, I'm just getting the stream started, so just bear with me. I'm actually just also trying to get it open so I can monitor it through here, so I can get things rocking. So just give me a quick second so I can monitor things here. Okay, mute this, mute that. Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right, we are rocking. Okay, we looks like we're good. Hey, Leo, welcome to the stream. Hey, Chucky. Just give me a quick second, guys. I'm just gonna promote this real quick that I am live. But yeah, guys, as you guys see at the title of this video, we're going to be talking in this stream about shadow Pokemon and whether or not they are worth powering up. And hey, Midnight Darkness, welcome to the stream. Thank you for tuning in. So just give me a second, guys. Let me go ahead and get this rocking. Give me a quick second. I just got to tweet out real quick. I caught a 98% IV Darkrai today, 14 attack worth maxing now. It depends on the situation. I mean, it's a pretty solid IV, but it might miss out. It might miss out on some. It might miss out on like some breakpoints and such too. So it's kind of a hit. It's a hit miss situation there. Hey Rich. Hey Rich. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so give me one quick second, folks. We're just starting the stream. I'm just gonna post this out here that I'm live on here. And yes, guys, so this is going to be my third installment of the of my Pokemon podcast. And in today's discussion, I'm going to be going over Shadow Pokemon. While pretty much we're going to be talking about what the basics as to why I love Shadow Pokemon, why I invest in the Shadow Pokemon, and just talk to you guys about all the good things and all the bad things about Shadow Pokemon because as a Shadow King, I gotta at least let you guys know, enlighten you guys on how Shadow Pokemon are definitely very, very good. I mean, we some of you guys already know this by now, but they're very strong, but they do have their flaws, of course. So that's pretty much the whole topic today. And then later in the stream, if there's not much to talk about when in the stream about Shadow Pokemon, then we'll go into a little bit more discussion about Lugia, since that will be coming to raids tomorrow. Although I had made a raid guide already a couple days ago about Lugia, and why I mentioned that it's actually going to be pretty difficult to take down compared to Darkrai and some of the other legendaries that we faced before in the past. So yeah, Shadows of Every. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to all that. We're gonna get to all that in just a moment. That's for fact. That's fact. That's gonna be that's definitely gonna be that's definitely a well fact. That's actually one of the main things that we're going to cover in this stream in this thing as well too. So yeah, definitely something to take bold note of there. Okay, so let me just finish promoting this real quick. Uh, let me see something. I'm just gonna post this here as well. Now, if you guys have any questions at all about Shadow Pokemon, well, we're gonna be going over a couple of things for certain, but we're gonna also be going over a couple other things. We're gonna be going over Lugia as well in this video as well. So that's gonna be a plan, or rather, I should say that's going to be the play. So yeah, just give me one quick sec. I'll put this in here. Give me a quick second. I might make this not that long of a stream today because um, I've been feeling a little bit odd, like off as of late. Like it's kind of hard to explain, but hopefully it's nothing too serious. Okay, so just give me a quick sec. Put that. There we go. Perfect. Okay, perfect. All right. Let's see. Let me check the chat here. Okay, cool. All right. Let's get some music in the background because it's been a while since I even used music on my streams. So let's do that. And this music we're actually going to be using is going to be based on the games that actually where Shadow Pokemon first debuted into the series in a way. And I'm pretty sure Niantic picked up on Shadow Pokemon because of these games, honestly. So it only makes sense because how else did Niantic get the idea about Shadow Pokemon? So right, so that's what I'm thinking. So just give me a quick second. I'm gonna play some of my favorite tracks in the background. So well, we're gonna play a simple one, and then we're gonna go to some of my more darker themes. I guess we can go with that. Okay, for some reason that's down. Hang on. Why is this down? Okay. Okay, give me a second. There we go. Okay. So let me know, guys. If the music's too loud, let me know. I'll lower it down. But yeah, guys, let's dive into this thing. So Shadow Pokemon. Let me first pull out the details as to when Shadow Pokemon first debuted, along with Team Go Rocket and Pokemon Go. So let me go ahead and look that up real quick. So this way we can get an idea. Finally invaded. No, that's not it. That was this year. Not Team Go Rocket Return. Strange Eggs. No, that's not it. I'm looking for the date in which Team Go Rocket debuted into Pokemon. Ah, here we go. Here we go. Got it. I think this is the tweet. Give me a second. Ah, here we go. Okay. Um. Okay. Yeah. This is it. Okay. So let's dive into this. So obviously, if you guys don't, for those of you who don't know, Shadow Pokemon debuted on July 25th, 2019. So there was a pretty big as you could say there was a pretty big, there was a trailer going over all these Shadow Pokemon. Rather the fact that Tingo Rocket, invaded Pokemon Go and then they brought their, Shadow Pokemon, which I thought it was interesting because, fun fact guys, obviously for those of you here that do play Pokemon Go, right? Tingo Rocket were actually not the organization that actually created Shadow Pokemon in the beginning. If you guys have, I don't know if you guys have ever played, I don't know if you guys ever played Pokemon XD Gil Darkness and Pokemon Coliseum. These games were actually released on the GameCube, in case you guys are wondering. And there was actually an evil organization called Team Cypher that were actually the ones responsible for actually creating Shadow Pokemon. So Tingle Rocket was actually not the ones that were actually responsible for actually creating Shadow Pokemon. It was in fact Team Cypher. So yeah, that's pretty much where they first came in. Hey Kai, welcome to the stream. Yeah, so if you guys search this up, you will see that Pokemon XD Guild Earnest and Pokemon Coliseum, those were the two games. In fact, Pokemon Coliseum came first, then came Pokemon XD Gale Darkness. Both of those games, which featured Shadow Pokemon into Pokemon into the light there. So yeah, but yeah, welcome Kai and hey Jose, welcome to the stream. But yeah, both those games were definitely a lot of fun, and they were actually for the Nintendo GameCube, which it was actually released It was definitely released a few years ago. So for those that are wondering if Tingo Rock were actually the ones responsible for Shadow Pokemon to be made, no, they were not. Search up Pokemon Team Cypher, or rather, search up Pokemon Coliseum, and then the Team Cypher. They were the ones that created the Shadow Pokemon. Like they created Shadow Pokemon, and in those games, it's actually a lot different than they had in Pokemon Go. Obviously, in Pokemon Go, when you catch a shadow Pokemon, it will have the move Frustration. And obviously, it's kind of interesting because it would actually make the shadow Pokemon worthless, of course. And of course, that's another topic we're going to be going over later on in the stream. So if you guys are very curious, stay tuned for that. So, and if anyone has any questions at all regarding anything of this information, please let me know in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer. And Kai, I don't know if you actually heard these games before, but Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Pokemon Coliseum for the Nintendo GameCube, which was actually released years ago, actually. And those were really cool, epic games. I could tell you that much. Where basically you're a trainer and you actually have to catch you have to snag and purify all the shadow Pokemon, kind of like how we do in Pokemon Go. But in Pokemon Go, there are actually more benefits to actually going, getting to keeping them shadow, of course. So, but anyways, yeah, that was actually the Shadow Pokemon debut there. So I missed the GameCube. Oh yeah, and the GameCube was definitely one of my favorite systems, I think. But yeah, those games were definitely a lot of fun. And basically, in those games, you're a trainer and you have to battle against Team Cypher and snag the shadow Pokemon away from them, and then you purify them, and they'll be part of your team to pretty much finish to add to your organ to your team pretty much. And that's pretty much how it works there. You can actually also battle with the shadow Pokemon in those games as well too, but they are restricted as well too. So the levels they're caught at, they'll stay the same. Basically you have to battle with them in order to actually, open the door to their heart, because when you catch them, there's a little bit of gauge in which you have to actually purify, like working on purifying them. And it's not just purifying them when you catch them, you actually have to work on purifying them, which is actually a pretty, a fun thing. It's definitely a lot of work, but it definitely is rewarding in a way, especially this because you have some pretty cool Pokemon. And in Pokemon Coliseum, if you played those games, you would know that you were able to actually get Shadow Suicune, Shadow Raikou, and Shadow Entei, which you guys know those three were in Pokemon Go. So yeah, those three were actually in there. And Kai, it was actually an old game system that came out, the Nintendo GameCube. And that's a system where Pokemon Coliseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness came out from. So definitely check that out whenever you get a chance. But yeah, basically, when I play these games, I honestly love the concept of shadow Pokemon, like Pokemon that were actually turned evil in a way, and then you have to save them and purify them and such. So that's pretty much the whole idea. Now transitioning into Pokemon Go, however, of course, it's definitely a lot different. Not many people may know. People see shadow Pokemon and they're like, okay, people see shadow Pokemon and they're like, okay, it only has frustration. Why is it going to be, why isn't it useful whatsoever? And yes, of course, it's supposed to be not that. It's not supposed to be, useful with frustration. My favorite GameCube game was Sonic Heroes. We honestly need a remake of that. Oh, that's cool. That's cool, actually, Flexi. That's pretty awesome. I will say this. Those games were definitely a lot of fun. And now let's go ahead and dive into to Pokemon Go here. So, but yeah, Team Go Rocket debuted with Shadow Pokemon back in last year, July 25th, which is pretty cool. And then the Team Go Rocket leaders came in with their own shadow Pokemon, which was pretty cool. Now, obviously, some of you guys are wondering what's the purpose of the stream? Basically, I'm just giving you guys a little introduction about shadow Pokemon, and now we're gonna dive into the whole we're gonna dive into all the good stuff. But before we get into that, I'm gonna actually add the link to my chat. So if you guys want to go ahead and join me on here, we can actually talk. We can also talk together, talk about these things as well too. And we're also going to go into a couple of other cool things that I also like to talk about as well. And we can go from there. So that's the link if you guys want to join me. But let me know if you're gonna join, if you want to join, and we'll go from there. But anyway, um, hang on. Actually, give me one quick second. I gotta double check something. But yeah, guys, I absolutely have been a fan of Shadow Pokemon ever since they first debuted in Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Pokemon Coliseum. So that's pretty much why I've always been a fan of Shadow Pokemon. Now, obviously, for those of you who are new and followed me as the Shadow King for quite some time, you guys will know that I was actually one of the very lucky people that got to solo Genesect back when it was in raids, of course. And when Shadow Pokemon first debuted into Pokemon Go, I actually felt a bit sad that they looked so cool in their evil forms, but they were just not good whatsoever until Niantic made a change into which Shadow Pokemon actually got that major buff. And when I say buff, that means they actually do 20% more damage than regular Pokemon. So it's basically they're getting a free boost, and no weather is not even necessary to even have them on your team. Honestly, it's absolutely it's absolutely crazy. Honestly, that they finally released that actually gave Shadow Pokemon their spotlight. I guess in a way, that's what I'm trying to say. It's I just absolutely love the fact that they finally got that buff. Now, you being a huge fan, I know that for sure. Oh yeah, facts, absolutely facts. It just goes back to the old days when I was playing when I was playing those games, and I just loved Shadow Pokemon ever since. And I will say this, Shadow Pokemon are definitely very very strong, but obviously they do have their drawbacks, which we're gonna go into that as well in this discussion as well here. So while Shadow Pokemon do 20% more damage than normal Pokemon, like for example, for those of you who followed me for quite some time, some of the Shadow Pokemon I do have on my team that I've used in raids ever since I've started getting to using them as well. It actually, what's funny? I was actually at first just collecting Shadow Pokemon. I was literally just first collecting Shadow Pokemon, but then when they actually made the change, and then when the first Team Go Rocket takeover took place earlier this year, back in March, in which you were able to TM away frustration from your Shadow Pokemon to actually give them their good moves and such. I took that opportunity to I really literally took that time to really, you know, really grind that event, because when it comes to these Team Go Rocket takeover events, you know, I know what Shadow Pokemon are capable of now, and I TM'd them because at first we weren't really sure if the buff that they got were actually really going to benefit them at all. But after seeing what they're really capable of doing, I was like, oh my goodness. And then it came down to, and obviously Shadow Pokemon, getting good IV ones are actually pretty difficult as it is. It's very, very difficult because when you battle a grunt or a leader, you're not guaranteed to get a good IV at all. Like, if you're actually able to get yourself some really good IV Shadow Pokemon, like I remember Legend Kid told me, if he's still there, he mentioned he got a couple of good IV Shadows. You know, if you're able to get yourself a very good IV Shadow, that's pretty insane. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys put this out there right now. If you catch a Shadow Pokemon that can purify into a Hundo, regardless of it being a Hundo, do not purify, especially if it's actually a Pokemon that's actually very good, that'll actually benefit as a Shadow. I wouldn't purify it, because you know what? It's going to actually do more damage as a Shadow. Even if it doesn't have 15 attack, it's still going to do more damage as a Shadow Pokemon. Versus if it's purified, like, okay, it's a Hundo, but it's going to lose that 20%. So me personally, I have a 98% Shadow Entei. That, in case you guys have been following me well enough, you guys know that by now. I have a 98% Shadow Entei. And Legend Kid mentions that he has a 98% Shadow Almanac and Lapras. Of course, that's pretty cool. yes, if you purify those, it'll be hundos, but they will lose out on the 20% bonus that they will do. And on top of that, what's also crazy epic about Shadow Pokemon is that they actually, if there happens to be weather boosted, if they actually their damage gets buffed by the weather, the Shadow bonus and the weather bonus both stack on them. So we're talking about monsters here, guys. We're talking about monsters. Like you see, obviously you guys can see my image of Shadow me just standing right next to my Shadow Entei right there. Actually, I forgot who took that picture. I forgot who it was actually, but that's me next to my Shadow Entei, and I just have to say, you know, I don't know, like I just don't know why I just love these Shadow Pokemon very much, like so much, and it's not just the fact that they're strong, but it just brings me back. It just brings me back to the good old times in which they actually they actually you know they literally they I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. That's what I'm trying to say. But I don't know. Like it's just okay. I'm gonna ask you guys a question on the chat for right now. Obviously, Flexi, you just already answered it. My favorite shadows is my Entei and my 93% manual. Yeah, those are pretty cool actually. But for anyone else who's on the chat, let me know in the chat what is your favorite shadow Pokemon that you guys have in your collection? It could be a shiny shadow, it could be an IV, it doesn't matter. What is your favorite shadow Pokemon and why? Let me know in the chat below, and we'll go from there. But for me, I think personally one of my favorite shadow Pokemon that actually I have ever caught, believe it or not, it's actually my Shadow Entei, and the reason why is because this Shadow Entei is actually my best Shadow Pokemon. Um, my favorite Shadow Pokemon because it was actually my very first Shadow Pokemon that I caught. That was a very very good IV. Like it's 98% as well too, and I TM'd it immediately and I maxed it out, and I've been using it, and it did me so well honestly. Favorite Shadow is Mewtwo because it's in the league of its. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then when Shadow Mewtwo was released in Go Fest, I immediately caught that and I immediately TM'd it and I maxed it out. I TM'd mine. Mine has Side Strike, and I still have my second Shadow Mewtwo, which um I could if I really wanted to I could max it out, but honestly I'm gonna wait till the takeover because I really don't need another Shadow Mewtwo right now. Although it is very strong, I will tell you that it's very strong. Um, but you know, I'm holding off on it because I'm gonna wait till there's a raid boss in which I definitely want to feature both of them then. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with the one I already have maxed out. But but yeah, Shadow Entei was definitely my most favorite one because it just has so much. It just I don't know. When I called my Shadow Entei, like I was thinking to myself, wow, I must be a very lucky person to actually be able to get my hands on a very good IV shadow like that. I mean, obviously there's people that have amazing shadows, honestly. Like it's pretty insane. Mine is Machamp because since mine is Machamp, she likes to show up a lot on my side. On my side depends. You know what? Midnight Shadow Machamp is actually a very strong shadow fighter too. In fact, it actually does. It's actually stronger than Lucario as well too, which is insane. Would you feature both Shadow Mewtwo against Terrakia? Mm, I don't think so because I already. Maybe we'll see. Maybe I'll see. I'll see. It depends on the situation. It depends on how my resources look when we get to the Sword of Justice. But I'll see what I can do on that, Flexi. But I do have other stuff I definitely can't wait to use against Terrakia, especially my Metagross. I do have my Shadow Metagross as well that can also do well against Terrakion. Of course, it will have to watch out for Earthquake, but against Rock Slide and close combat, I think it can handle well, especially against Rock Slide. It'll resist the Rock Slide pretty nicely. So, but yeah, Machamp is definitely a very strong shadow. Now let's get into the next topic. Obviously, um, Shadow Pokemon are strong, but are there any shadow Pokemon that you guys are curious about if they're worth powering up? Because obviously not all shadow Pokemon are going to be, useful because there's only some particular ones that are actually dominating in their typings. Like usually I would like to use shadow Pokemon that are actually going to be much more better than their regular counterpart. Like for example, um Shadow Salamence with Outrage actually is the strongest DPS dragon, believe it or not. It outpaces Dragon. It actually does outpace Rayquaza. It outpaces Dragonite. It's the strongest dragon in the game currently until at least Black Curum comes in. And then Black Curum, I believe, should be a tie. I believe. Actually, wait a second. I believe Black Curum is outpaced by Salamence too. But when Mega Rayquaza comes in, then that's gonna take over the number one spot. But Shadow Salamence with Outrage is actually the strongest dragon, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually double check that real quick. Let me see. I believe it is. I could be wrong, but I gotta double check. Okay, no, that's the old list. Let me see. I caught him not long ago, but I've been catching loads of gas with Alter, aka. Wow, you got a couple of gas shinies there. Nice, that's awesome. Let me see. I wish they made a Ghastly Shadow. Shadow Gengar would be. I would love to max one of those to my team. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So that's an old list. I need to find the current one. I know someone actually found a list. Wait, is this it? Let me see. No, this is a fly. Oh no, this is different. Never mind. No, this is for flyers. I could have sworn I seen someone post a list of a dragon list actually. Dang, I don't remember. Let me see something. Okay, someone just sent me it. Okay, he's gonna send me this in a second. Let me see what else. I'm trying to find this list of the top dragons. Let me see. I want Battle Shadows, but I keep getting Stunky for balloons. Oh my god, Lexi, I know exactly what you mean. I keep getting either Stunky, I keep getting Poison, I keep getting Normal. I'm looking for other ones. I'm looking for a better Shadow Aerodactyl. There's a couple of shadows I'm still looking for actually as well. But I don't know exactly what you mean. I know your pain there, honestly. I really do. Okay, so let me see. Top. I guess I can search this up. Game Press. I think Game Press is actually a decent, a solid pick there. Game Press. Top dragons. Top attackers by type. I guess we can go with that. Let me see. Last updated. Okay, perfect. This will work. I gotta take a look to see. Bro, I'm honestly annoyed. I keep getting Shadow Stunky. I honestly cannot blame you guys for always getting that one. Well, if you see the one wherever there's light, there's also darkness. I would probably avoid that one if you don't want to get any more Stunkies. So yeah. Let me see. Yeah, so Shadow Salamence with Dragon Tail Outrage is definitely very strong, followed by Shadow Dragonite. Then we got Rayquaza, and these are actually the dragons that are actually currently available. Well, obviously, there's no way to get Shadow Bagon anymore because Shadow Bagon was available through Arlo, but now he doesn't give Bagon anymore. He gives Growlithe. So Salamence, there's Dragonite, which I believe the Dragon Grunt is still available because I've actually had one the other day, which is pretty cool. And then just Rayquaza, Palkia, Salamence, Garchomp, Zekrom, Reshiram, and Dragonite. Those are the top dragons. But yes, Shadow Salamence is definitely in the number one spot for sure. So they're very strong, obviously. In fact, I can actually tell. If anything, I can use this guide to tell you guys which Shadow Pokemon that you should invest in. Like now, and that's where this next topic is going to come into play. Whether or not there's which shadows do you want to invest in if you have the resources. Now, before we even go into that, obviously we got to talk about the cost for powering up Shadow Pokemon, which I know a lot of people are very, very, a lot of people are very, cautious about it because obviously Shadow Pokemon do cost a bit more Stardust than a bit more Stardust than a normal Pokemon, obviously. So they do cost a bit more. So matter of fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually I'm gonna actually search up exactly how much Stardust it's gonna cost you to invest in Shadow Pokemon to pop max Shadow Pokemon, and then we do a comparison. So let's see. I believe this is the correct one here. Um, and guys, remember when Shadow Pokemon first debuted into Pokemon Go? They costed so much Stardust. Like it costed way more than it costs right now. Like it doesn't cost as much now, but it still does cost quite a bit. So remember, guys, if you are going to invest in these Shadow Pokemon, if you're going to actually, you know, embrace the darkness and max out Shadow Pokemon, you got to keep in mind that they're going to be, they're going to cost you quite a bit of Stardust. And at each Shadow Pokemon you catch are going to be level 8. Each Shadow Pokemon are going to be level 8, and any weather boosted Shadow Pokemon you get are going to be level 13. So keep that in mind, guys. They still cost too much. Yeah, I know, Flexi. They really do. That's what I'm saying. That's what the stream is for. So I can give you guys an idea about why I love Shadow Pokemon, why I invest in them. Speaking about this, I just caught a Shadow Snorlax. Oh, nice, nice, man. That's pretty cool. Shadow Snorlax is actually one of a little bit more of a rare one to find because you can only get that one from the hardest runs. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let me tell you. Let me go ahead and go. Let's get into this. So, in other words, let's see. 30,000. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just looking for the right numbers here, guys. But yeah, just keep in mind when you do invest in the Shadow Pokemon, they are not going to be cheap whatsoever. And especially the Shadow Legendaries, like if you don't have the candy for them, if you don't have the candy to invest in these and those Shadow Legendaries, I would urge you guys to not really worry about those too much. In fact, I'm gonna also talk about which Shadow Pokemon that you guys should invest in if you guys have the resources to actually invest in. But obviously not all Shadow Pokemon are going to be worth powering up, obviously. But we're going to be going into a couple other things as well too. Okay, this is for purification, but I'm looking for exactly how much is it to power up a Shadow, because that's why that's why I'm just letting you guys know of this thing here. Let me see. I'm trying to find exactly how much Stardust does it take to power up Shadow Pokemon. Yeah, so it's 0.9 more star. Oh no, I think that is actually the old amounts, and then they reduced it. Let me see. But I do remember they definitely costed a whole lot more when they first came out. I can tell you that much. Okay, so just give me a quick second. I was just double checking. Oh, and I actually found the list of all the current Shadow Pokemon you can obtain, which is pretty cool. So that'll be good. So I can go over those with you guys in a second as well. Sweet. I find those grunts harder than the leaders. Oh yeah. Remember when Sierra actually had double Shadow Lapras? Oh, that was fun. And I never got my shiny Shadow Lapras too. I did so many Sierras, but I never got a shiny Shadow Lapras. I'm a little sad about that, but it is what it is. But it's all good. Okay, so let's see. Yep, darkness increased there. They do more Shadow Pokemon. They do more damage. Let's see. Okay, so there's no information. Okay, that's not what I want. Okay. All right, so I can't find. Unfortunately, I cannot find the numbers about how much it's gonna take to actually power up. But obviously, you can only get like. Here's the thing. Shadow Pokemon, like I said, they are going to be very strong, but like I said, they're definitely going to be costing a whole lot more. Hey, Denox, welcome to the stream. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to join me on chat for a little bit, you could join me on here, or if you want, I can hop on the Discord on the Pokemon Podcast chat. We could talk there. It was worse when they both had. Oh my god, yes! But it was actually Frost Breath that they had, Flexi. But yeah, just keep in mind they're definitely going to be costing a lot more. Like a Shadow Pokemon from level 8, it's going to cost you about 375,000 Stardust and about actually no, 300. I think it was 351,000 Stardust and then 375 candy, depending on which Pokemon you power up. And then if it happens to be level 13, it'll cost you 315,000. And I believe, actually, hold on, I gotta get the accurate numbers because I actually don't remember on the top of my head. But a regular Pokemon, like let's say for example, like level 20, would cost you 225 candy. Sorry, 248 candy and 225,000 Stardust to power up. And Shadow Pokemon do cost a lot more than that. It definitely takes a lot more candy and it takes a lot more Stardust to get these Pokemon power up. But are they actually worth it in the long run? Now I'm gonna tell you guys, they are very strong. But if you guys do not have the resources to invest in them, I highly urge you guys not to power up the Shadow Pokemon because I don't want you guys to invest all your resources if you're unable to get the resources in there, because I can understand there may be some people that are unable to play as much. So obviously Shadow Pokemon are there. They are very, very strong. I mean, I've showcased them a lot in the past, but obviously not everybody's able to invest in them, and I understand. They are very expensive. I'll tell you that. So one more thing, I'm gonna go over the levels real quick one more time. I had mentioned this already, and if anybody has any questions at all about about the Shadow Pokemon, let me know in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer as many questions as I can. So Shadow Pokemon are usually caught at level 8, like I said, whether it's from the Grunt, Leader, or Giovanni. Shadow Pokemon are caught at level 8, and if they're weather boosted, they'll be caught at level 13. So they're level 8, and then level 13, they're weather boosted. So keep that in mind. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about. I have this list of top counters, and if I happen to spot any Shadow Pokemon on any of these lists, I'll bring those up. I'll bring those up for you guys. So let's go ahead and let's dive into this. So going into the list here, first we got bug types. We got Mega Beedrill, which of course you guys know Mega Beedrill is very strong, as a strong bug type. And then we got Shadow Pinsir with Bug Bite, or Pure Cutter, and X Scissor, and that's a very strong bug type, of course. It does very nicely versus Psychic, Dark, and Ghost. Although these are not going to be good against Lugia at all, which we're going to go in a little bit more detail into Lugia later on in this video. Shadow Scizor with Fury Cutter, X Scissor, pretty strong option as well. It could also run Bullet Punch, Iron Head as another strong Steel type counter against Ice types as well. But it's better off with Bug, obviously. And then we have Shadow Scyther. Even Shadow Scyther pulls up decently with Fury Cutter, X, and Bug Bust. But if you want decent your top Bug Shadows, Pinsir and Scizor are definitely the way to go for those. So let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit more to the next type. So going into Darks, we got Mega Houndoom, of course, being the top counter. And Mega Houndoom also, guys, will be very good against Lugia, but watch out for Hydro Pump. That's all I gotta say. Then we have Shadow Tyranitar, which I do have that on my team with Bite Crunch. It definitely loses a little bit of bulk as a Shadow, but definitely dishes out a pretty good plethora of damage. So, yeah, Shadow Tyranitar definitely a great one for sure. It also does really nice as a rock type too, which we'll go into that later. Shadow Weavile with Snarl Foul Play, It's a dark attacker that's very strong. It's very glassy, so keep that in mind. But it could definitely put in a lot of work for sure. So yeah, very very good stuff. Then we got Shadow Houndoom with Snarl and Crunch. I think ideally you want Snarl Foul Play, which is actually a little bit better, because you can get off more hits with that. So that's just my personal opinion. Then the Shadow Absol. So yeah. So and then so that's the top best Shadow Darks are going to be Tyranitar and Weavile for sure. You can always use Houndoom, but from all my testing, I think Shadow Weavile and Shadow Tyranitar are definitely good ones. So if you have those are definitely really good. If you don't have those, you can also get Houndoom, which you can also get the Shadow Houndour from the Grunts as well. So that's good to keep in mind. And if you don't have these shadows, you can also use Darkrai and Houndoom as well. So those are going to be really good. Now going into Dragon types, which I already mentioned this before, but the top dragons are Shadow Salamence and Shadow Dragonite. Without a shadow of a doubt, these two are very strong. Shadow Dragonite is actually available. Um, you can get your Shadow Dratini from the Grunts, and however, it's going to cost you a lot more because you do have to unlock that second move. So I would urge you guys to get yourself some good ones if you're able to, and save them for the next takeover, which we don't know when that's ever going to take place, but it's good to prepare just in case. So those two are the top Shadow Dragons are going to be really good. So some people say Shadows are stronger than Megas. Is that true? In some situations, Flexi, Shadows are actually are going to be really strong, a lot stronger than Megas. But in the Dragon field, in fact, Mega Rayquaza is going to take back the number one spot as soon as that comes in. So once Mega Rayquaza comes back in, that's going to be in the number one spot. I guarantee you. Mega Rayquaza. It's going to be in a league of its own. If you don't believe me, remind me later on. I'm going to go over Mega Rayquaza's stats, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But currently, right now, we have the top dragons of Shadow Salamence and Shadow Dragonite. But yeah, shadows are very good. But like I said, not all of them are going to be really good. But it depends on which ones, of course. Anyways, going into Electric, we have 4 Shadow Electrics to go over. We got Shadow Raikou with Thunder Shock and Wild Charge, Shadow Electivire with Thunder Shock, Wild Charge, Shadow Zapdos with Thunder Shock and Thunderbolt, which, of course, this one's actually very expensive because you have to actually use an Elite Fast TM in order to obtain yourself a Shadow Zapdos with Thunder Shock, which I do have one. I did do that, and I've used it plenty of times in some situations, and it's very good. I love it so much. So, and then Shadow Magnezone with Spark and Wild Charge. And I would like to let you guys know that these 4 Shadow Pokemon, Shadow Electric types, are actually going to be very good against Lugia as well. So if you have the resources to get them, you may want to consider using those against Lugia if you're able to. If not, then you can always go with Zekrom. Regular Raikou's fine, Electivire, Magnezone, But yeah, those 4 shadows are going to be really good. Unfortunately, however, Shadow Raikou and Zapdos are not available because they used to be available from battling Giovanni, but you can't get those anymore. However, you can get Shadow Electabuzz from the Electric Grunt and the Shadow Magnemite as well. So you are able to currently get Shadow Electivires and Shadow Magnezone. You have to get the Electabuzz and Magnemites from the Electric Grunt. So that's something to take note of there. Now, going into Fairy, Shadow Gardevoir pulls in the number 1 spot with Charm and Dazzling Gleam. A very strong Shadow Pokemon, and it can also do well with Psychic as well. You can run it as a Fairy attacker, and you can also use it as a Psychic attacker. In either field, it's going to do really well in that field. So you can get that from I believe the Psychic one, from the Psychic Grunt as well, you can get that. So it's pretty good. Now, going into the fighters, like I mentioned before, Shadow Machamp is in the number 1 spot with Counter and Dynamic Punch. Actually, pretty much stronger than Lucario. But of course, if you don't have access to that, you can always use Lucario, Conkeldurr, and then regular Machamp can still do really well. But Shadow Machamp, in terms of DPS, very strong. Very strong. No questions asked. And then you could also, even if you actually have the resource, you can also go Shadow Alakazam with Counter and Focus Blast. That's actually pretty hilarious. I actually just realized that's a thing. So yeah, there you go. Shadow Alakazam, Shadow Gallade is also another fighter, but not that great. Personally, I think Shadow Gallade is better as a Psychic attacker, which we're going to go into that a little bit later. So going into fires, we got Shadow Entei is on top of the list there with Fire Fang Overheat. Then we got Shadow Moltres with Fire Spin and Overheat. Shadow Charizard with Fire Spin Blast Burn, which you guys seen me use those before. Shadow Arcanine, Fire Fang, and Flamethrower. You have Shadow Magmortar with Fire Spin and Fire Punch or Fire Blast. Personally, with Shadow Magmortar, because it doesn't get Flamethrower, I kind of like Shadow Magmortar with Fire Punch because you can get off a bit more damage with those. But if you feel like you can get off double Fire Blast, then I say go for Fire Blast. But I just like Fire Punch because you can get off more with that. And then if you don't have those top fires, you also have Mega Charizard Y and X as well. You have Reshiram, which is very strong, which I know Legend Kid has a hundo, which I know he's gonna mention about that any minute because I know him. And even Mega Houndoom is decent as well too. So, but out of the shadows, Shadow Entei, Moltres, Charizard, those fires are dominate quite a bit. However, they do face some competition from Mega Charizard Y, and in the future, Mega Blaziken, which is also going to be a very strong fire as well. So that's the list there. Then we have going into flying. Now, Shadow Moltres once again pulls up in the number one spot with Wing Attack and Sky Attack. Now, Shadow Moltres is also fantastic as a flyer. It's great as a fire, and it's great as a flyer as well as a fire, and it's great as a flyer too. So I'm actually tempted to actually give one of my Shadow Moltres second move and give a Sky Attack, but I'm not sure. I'm not really too sure of that just yet. Actually, I might though. I just might because I'm actually considering doing that for when Virizion comes in, just to bring out this thing as well. Beat buddy, hello. I know you didn't just say that. Hello. You gotta correct that, sir. I mean, you just said that. All right. Anyways, Shadow Moltres, sorry, is definitely up there. Mega Pidgeot, Moltres, regular Moltres, Ho-Oh, with him Power Flying, which I really hope I can get one of those one day. Rayquaza. The only Shadow Pokemon that's actually as good as a flyer is Shadow Moltres. So there you go. Moltres is great. Shadow Moltres is great as both a flyer and a fire type. So that's pretty cool. Now going into ghost types, we got not many shadow ghost types to really go into, but we got Shadow Bayonet with Shadow Claw and Shadow Ball, very glassy but can dish out damage. And then we have Shadow Mismagius with Hex and Shadow Ball. They actually are not higher on the list, although Shadow Bayonet does outpace Gengar, I think. Quote me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain that Shadow Bayonet does outpace Gengar, but Mega Gengar is definitely stronger than Shadow Bayonet. So I wouldn't say Shadow Bayonet is really worth investing in. So just throwing that out there. Now we're on to grass types, and we have Mega Venusaur in the number one spot, of course, followed by Shadow Torterra with Razor Leaf and Frenzy Flame, which I actually do not have one of these, which I don't know when I'm going to make one of these, but in the future, one of these days. Then we got Shadow Venusaur with Vine Whip and Frenzy Flame, which I do have a Shadow Ivysaur ready to evolve for whenever we can get those moves on it. So that's definitely a project in the works. I can tell you that. Oh, by the way, guys, if you guys are curious about where I'm getting this detail from, I actually am checking it on Game Press, which if you guys want, I can actually post a link to this list on the chat so you guys can check out if you guys want me to. If you guys want me to, let me know. I'll post it on the chat. Then we got Shadow Victory Bell with Razor Leaf and Leaf Blade. So top Shadow grass types, we got Torterra, Venusaur, Exeggutor, and Victory Bell. So yeah, those are oh yeah, and there's also Shadow Shiftry, but I think the other four are actually better than Shadow Shiftry. So there's that. Now going into ground types, this is where there's not really good ground types you can use. There's Shadow Swampert and Shadow Flygon, but I feel like with Swampert, you definitely better off using water, which we're going to go into that in just a moment. And then we have Shadow Flygon with Mudshot, Earth Power, or Earthquake. But Shadow Flygon in general is just not that great. So I wouldn't personally really recommend it, personally. So I wouldn't really invest into that, honestly, myself. It's just not really worth it. But, it is what it is, It's up to you guys. If you have the resources, I say go for it. But I don't think Shadow Flygon is really worth it, personally. So that's actually one that I would actually stay away from. So Going into ice types, again, Shadow Weavile comes back in. Like I mentioned before earlier, it's great as a ice type and a ghost type and a dark type. Sorry, Ice Shard and Avalanche. So Shadow Weavile pulls up there. You even have Shadow Mewtwo with Ice Beam. That's also good. Shadow Abomasnow, Shadow Articuno. Actually, a bit more tankier actually. And if you're actually one of those people who actually has a Shadow Porygon Z with Hidden Power Ice, then I got to give you props for that one. I was trying so hard to try to get one of those onto my list, but unfortunately, I could not get one. All the ones I had were like fire, steel, poison, which was so annoying. And Legend, you definitely know my opinion there. So going into poison, we got Victory, Shadow Victory Bell, and Vileplume. Um, these I would rather use Victory Bell for grass, and Vileplume not that great, but it's not bad. Poison's not really too good, honestly. Now we're going into Psychic. Now this is where things get interesting. So Psychic types, you guys know for a fact that Shadow Mewtwo is definitely going to be on the top of the list. And if you guys are wondering, I have a bad IV Shadow Mewtwo. Is it even worth powering up? And the answer to that is yes, because of how strong it is in general. Even a bad IV Shadow Mewtwo, like even a zero IV Shadow Mewtwo with Side Strike can outperform a normal 100% IV Mewtwo with normal Mewtwo with Side Strike. So you guys, in case you guys are curious, so yes, your bad IV Shadow Mewtwo's are still going to be the top DPS Psychic type attacker. Keep in mind though, it's going to be glassy, but it still can put in some work there. I remember you trying to get one with him Power Ice during Porygon Company. Oh yeah, and I'm not happy about how that day went. Trust me. And then other good Shadow Pokemon to the list here. We got Shadow Metagross with Zen Headbutt and Psychic. That's another good choice, another good one there. Shadow Alakazam, shout out to Kaito Nolan, with Confusion and Psychic, which I think I'm gonna make one of those in the future. I'm not gonna make it right now. Then we have Shadow Executor with Confusion and Psychic. Shadow Executor is great as a Psychic and a Grass type, so something to keep too much. And my boy Rob is in the chat. Welcome, Rob, to the stream. Thank you for tuning in. Then we got Shadow Gallade with Confusion and Psychic. Very good Psychic type. And then Shadow Gardevoir, like I mentioned, with Confusion Psychic. These are really good Psychic types as well. But Shadow Mewtwo is definitely on the top of the list. And regardless if it's bad IV or not, it's still worth powering up because its damage output is just insane, honestly. I'll just tell you guys that. And then obviously, and the other good Psychic types you can invest in if you don't have access to these Shadows or Mewtwo. You have my boy Latios up there. He's a good Psychic type. And then Espeon with Confusion Psychic. The cheapest one on the list, but it can still put in some work for sure. And then Shadow Mewtwo in general is just going to be fantastic for sure. Now going into rock types, we have Shadow Tyranitar on top of the list. Smackdown Stone Edge. And that's the only rock type, Shadow rock type that actually outpaces Rhyperior. I believe Rampardo still does outpace it, though. Right, I said Rhyperior, not sorry. I meant to say Rampardo, sorry. With Smackdown and Rock Slide, Rampardos is definitely stronger than Shadow Tyranitar, but Shadow Tyranitar is still very strong and can stay in the fight a bit longer than Rampardo. So something to take one of there. You got Terrakion, Smackdown, Rock Slide, which will be a raid boss on the 16th after Lugia leaves. And then we have Shadow Aerodactyl with Rock Throw and Rock Slide, which that's available right now. Shadow Omastar with Rock Throw and Rock Blast, which you can get Shadow Omanite now from Cliff, if you battle Cliff, and you'll get yourself your Omanite there. Also a chance to get a shiny one as well. But keep in mind, guys, this is actually be very expensive because both Rock Throw and Rock Slide on Omastar is both Legacy, so you have to use an Elite Charge Team to get those, and Elite TMs to get those. So if you're really real about getting those, then kudos on you, honestly. Going into Steel types, obviously Shadow Metagross is just the top of the food chain with Bullet Punch and Meteor Mash. And yes, guys, Shadow Metagross needs Meteor Mash for it to be successful as a Steel type attacker. But other than that, if you don't have that, you can also always use the regular one as well. You have Shadow Machamp as well too, but Metagross is just a lot better. So there you go. Now we're into water types. We got Mega Blastoise in the top of the food chain. Then we got Shadow Swampert, where Shadow Swampert does shine as a water attacker. Water Gun, Hydro Cannon, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe Shadow Swampert does do more damage than Kyogre, which is actually on next on this list with Waterfall and Surf. I believe Shadow Swampert does outpace Kyogre too, if I'm not mistaken. So Shadow Gyarados is up there as well. Pretty good stuff there, honestly, guys. Shadow Blastoise is actually on the list too, but you do not want Hydro Pump, you want Hydro Cannon. So there you go. And then we have normal types. We're gonna skip normal types because those are really irrelevant. Okay, that's it. Okay, cool. All right, so give me a second, guys. I'm gonna actually give you guys the link to this thing as well, so you guys can check it out for yourself. If you guys want to see this. So just give me a quick second. Okay. Give me a quick sec. So if you guys want to take a look at this list for yourself, I'm gonna actually leave the link to this list in the chat here right now for you guys, so you can check it out. And these are actually this list is also good for you guys, so you can check out and see which Pokemon are actually going to be good in that typing. So yeah, that's pretty much it on the ones you want to invest in for sure. So yeah, let's go ahead. I'm gonna post it here real quick, and there you go. So if you guys want to check out the top counters for the particular type, as well as the shadows that are on the list on those typings that I just read, check out that link, and there you go. All right, guys. So I think I've talked about shadows, everything I need to know about shadows. Is there any now? If anybody has any questions you guys like me to answer regarding anything regarding shadows, then we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about Lugia, and then we'll end the stream. Okay, so just give me a quick moment, guys. Just have to do something real fast. Okay. All right. Let me see something. One moment. One moment. Okay, so excuse me. Okay, guys. Let me see. Okay. All right, guys. I think what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna go ahead and end it here because I'm not seeing too much communication going on in the chat, but obviously, not many people may be interested in this topic, obviously. But to conclude the stream, I'm just gonna say, thank you guys so much for those that tuned in to the tonight's stream. And yeah, I'm gonna cut it short today because I haven't been feeling too well, honestly. I'm hoping that there's nothing too serious, but I have been feeling a little bit ill. Hopefully it's nothing too severe, but I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here. This is gonna be a little bit of a shorter podcast, but next week's podcast is gonna be on something different, in which I'm gonna actually give you guys the chance to actually I'm gonna give you guys the chance to actually pick the topic of what you guys want me to talk about in next week's stream, next week's podcast, I should say. So with that, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here. I'm gonna take this time to rest up a little bit more. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's stream. I really appreciate you guys. I know you guys. This stream was really just me, talking about the shadows and everything like that. Hopefully this stream actually helped you guys out with the shadows a little bit. If it didn't, I apologize. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate every single one of you guys. And yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Expect a Lugia raid tomorrow because Lugia is coming out tomorrow. So definitely make sure you check those counters if you guys need some ideal counters, and check out my Lugia guy if you guys need help there. So good luck with Lugia tomorrow, guys. And I hope I can reclaim that handle that I lost 2 years ago. Hopefully I can reclaim it. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. And you guys have a good night. Take care. And I will see you guys next time. Take care.